Hello, welcome back to the Well of Unusual. I'm your host, Chris, the Keeper Than Usual. And I'm always joined by my host, Mel here. Hey, Mel.
Hey.
So, for today's episode, we're going back into the world of the paranormal, like we did with the Amityville Horror House. And we'll be covering the new Netflix doc, 28 Days Haunted. Now, for those of you who have not seen it, pretty much it's trying to prove the theory that Ed and Lorraine Warren had, that it takes 28 days to pierce the veil between the living and the dead and to get most activity during a paranormal investigation. Now, me and you just finished watching this.
Yeah.
And we both have some thoughts. Now, before we get into everything, I want to first lay out the scientific method, because obviously this is an experiment that they're trying to do. So, first you have the theory, then you have the questions, you have the hypothesis, experiments, the observation, the analysis of everything, and the conclusion of the experiment itself. Now, these are something that scientists follow, and this is to obviously take away any bias that one could have. That actually happened in the Stanford prison experiment, bias that during that experiment. But now, the reason why I wanted to start off with this is we're going to go through a whole thing, our thoughts on it, and we're going to go through our last thoughts. Now, my last thoughts are going to tie into why I wanted to start off with that.
Right.
All right. So
my first thoughts are this is all bullshit.
Yeah, I know you're not. Well, you said during the Amityville, you said that a murder took place, and you're like, it's haunted.
That's exactly why I think this is all stupid.
Why?
How does it take 28 days? Like, the second that people walk in, they start feeling this right away. If a house is haunted, a house is haunted. If spirits are there, spirits are there. There's nothing magical that happens 28 days later. I mean, think about it. How many people live in houses that have ghosts living there with them? Nothing special happened 28 days after they've lived there. They just live with it. I think a lot of this was, they're looking for it. They're going in there. They serve a purpose. They have a purpose. They're getting to know the house. They're getting used to the house. You're there for 28 days. You start pushing the envelope. So, of course, every single day, more and more is going to keep happening because you're provoking it more and more every day.
So, but I don't get what you're saying. You're just saying that people live with ghosts and day one activity starts happening?
Well, activity started happening the second that some of these people walked into these houses that we're going to talk about. I mean, I'm just saying, if something's haunted, something's haunted. I don't think anything magical happens 28 days later. Okay, well, the theory is, on the 28th day, you get the most activity. I think you get more activity each and every single day that you're there. You're there. You're asking for it. You're looking for it. They're there. They're experimenting. Of course, shit's going to happen. That's the whole point of it.
Okay.
If they're there for 100 days,
yeah.
On the 100th day, more is going to happen than the first day because you've gotten used to it. You're constantly there. They're constantly communicating with you.
All right, I have some thoughts on that, but we'll just go through our whole spiel thing here. So the three locations that each ghost hunting team were at, the first one was the Lumber Board Inn in Denver, Colorado. The second location was Madison Dry Goods in North Carolina. And the other one was Captain Grant's Inn in Connecticut. Now, I'm going to go through each location, give a bit of a spiel for each one, so you have a bit of an idea. So, Captain Grant's Inn is a historical site. This is also a bed and breakfast. It was built in 1954 and is the home to 7 ghosts. The first one is actually the wife of the homeowner, the former homeowner, of Captain Grant. That's who the place is named after.
Adelaide?
Yes, Adelaide. It is said that she's still waiting for her husband to come back home, and it's also said that her ghost is seen around the home itself.
Right.
It's also a go-to destination if you want to experience anything ooky spooky or if you're a ghost hunter. So then there's Madison Dry Goods, which was the town's funeral home and now is a gift shop where you can buy all this stuff, but also hosted the funeral of the victims of the Lawson family murder that took place on Christmas Eve of 1929.
I think it was Christmas Day.
Oh, Christmas Day. Sorry, you're right. Pretty much a father literally went crazy and killed all his children. And it's said that the little girl is actually seen in a rocking chair, swinging her feet. Also, some say there's something evil within the home itself.
Right.
And also a whole bunch of other things. And then there is the Lambert Borden Inn. It is also another historical site. It's a bed and bed and breakfast. It's also a popular wedding destination, etc. And it's also the home of an unsolved murder that happened to two girls in the 1970s. One was pretty much sexually assaulted and strangled, and literally the other one walked into it, and she was killed and stuffed underneath the bed. Now, each of these ghost hunters, as we watched, are blindfolded, phones are taken away, and they're not allowed to talk to the outside world. And they have to do this investigation.
Yeah.
So, my main problem that I found with it is when I was watching the show, it was like watching an episode of Ghost Adventures. It was all the bells and whistles of it as they were trying to do this so-called experiment, trying to prove the 28 days haunted theory. And it kind of like bugged me a bit because if you're doing an experiment, like they should have been isolated. They also should have had someone that was biased to the whole thing, to all of the paranormal, where they should have a hardcore skeptic to be there to review the evidence and be like, okay, well, you heard this.
I think what the issue is they didn't divvy up the teams right.
Yes.
You know, some of them had parties of 4, some ones had 2, the other ones had 3. Like, it was just all over the place, and they all had different abilities. And perhaps to make it fair, they just should have, even if all of them were together and they all did each house together as one big team, it wasn't divvied properly. Yeah,
like the team that was at the Madison Dry Goods store had a psychic medium, or was she just a medium?
Yeah, she was a medium, and the other guy was a demonologist.
Yeah, so it was teams. That was a team of 2. The other one had both. That
was Team Disaster.
Yeah, and both teams of 3. And it's funny because then it cuts to Tony Spera, who's pretty much in charge of Ed and Lorraine Warren's ghost hunting group. And he actually had a feud with Zach Baggins, which is kind of funny, which is another ghost hunter. That was a whole big to-do. So anytime something would happen in the show, it would cut to him and a journalist, and they would talk about, oh, well, this is happening, blah, blah, blah. This group should have been isolated. They should have been recording all their own stuff, and they should have been doing like video diaries kind of thing. When something happens, hey, I was sleeping and I felt a tug on my leg, or I had a weird sensation or something like that. But it was just like watching Ghost Adventures. It basically had all the bells and whistles, but to me, it wasn't like an actual experiment, right?
Well, I think the whole thing is basically just a money grab. Ed and Lorraine Warren, obviously their name is out there. Anybody that enjoys this kind of stuff, that's pretty much like the founders of this whole community of people that like enjoy paranormal.
Yeah.
And I think what Tony did was he took advantage, used the name of his in-laws, rolled with it, and just kind of made this series. It caught a lot of attention to a lot of people because of the names that he used with it, and that's how he made the series. I think it was just all a money grab. I mean, if he was genuinely curious himself, I think he should have been in the house with these people.
Well, that whole feud that he did with, just to mention, like what he did with Zach Baggins, he took the Annabelle doll to Zach Baggins' Haunted Museum, and he was actually there and watching. And when Zach Baggins touched the doll, he just flipped shit. And he's like, why'd you touch this doll, blah, blah, blah. So, I don't know, like, he is a bit of maybe a hothead. Again, I'm just assuming that from that thing, but you could be right about that.
I just think he wanted the new Netflix series, especially the way they ended the show.
Yeah.
He ended it on a note where, you know, he wanted this to now become a new series. I just think that he's using this whole theory as a way to start something. I think the theory's bullshit. Ed and Lorraine Warren themselves, from the little that I know about them and the little that I've looked into them, they themselves haven't even stayed somewhere 28 days. So you're rolling with a theory that you've never even tried.
Well, that's what I found in the research too. Like, they never actually stayed 28 days at a place. It was just they would stay a couple days or a couple nights and they'd take off.
Well, I think that's the thing with fame, right? You get something, you roll with it, and then it becomes money bags, right? So
yeah, like in the...
I think that's how this all started, and I think that's how he's going to start rolling with it. But I could be wrong.
Please don't sue us, Tony.
But I don't believe in... and I'm someone that does believe in ghosts, and I have no interest in dabbling with it. But I don't believe in 28 days.
Yeah, like there's also a lot of jumping to conclusions. Like when they were at the Lambert Borden Inn, the site of that gruesome murder, there's this part where the guy literally said they got into an argument with their medium, and they asked, "Okay, would you do mirror scrying?" Which is pretty much you stay in a dark room and you look into a mirror, and stuff is supposed to come out, and she's refused to do it, and all this stuff started happening, and the guy's like, okay, well, I'm going to push myself, and I'm going to go into the sensory deprivation tank. And he went into it, and he said that he saw the girl getting murdered through his visions. And he made a mistake. He said that a girl was shot, but the victims were strangled. And he said they got a message saying, look under, you're looking in the wrong place. And right away, it's like, oh, this might be the killer who's like in the haunting this place too, because the girl said there is a negative entity within the home. So like there's a lot of that. There's like a lot of jumping to conclusions. There's also a lot of drama in it. Like,
yeah, well, they got so mad at her for not wanting to. But I think it contradicts the entire show. I felt really bad for her. She went there just like they were. She was curious. I don't think curiosity means that you are that you're forced to do things that you're not uncomfortable with. You know, she did a lot.
Yeah, she did.
She wasn't comfortable doing the whole mirror thing. So skip it. You're there for 28 days. The experiment is that on the 28th day, you're supposed to break that whole wall and that whole barrier, and you're supposed to feel everything at its most highest peak of paranormal. So why do you need her to push her limits? Why do you need her to be put in an uncomfortable situation? The answers that you're waiting for, if you believe in the experiment and do believe in the 28 days, you're just going to get in a few weeks. So just leave it alone.
Yeah.
He just kept on pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. But isn't that the whole purpose of waiting the 28 days to get the unknown answers that you can't get on the second day?
Yeah, I know. Like there was also one point at the Madison Dry Goods one where their psychic was the girl was like in the tobacco room, and she was trying to talk to either the mother or the kids, and stuff started happening, and the demonologist is like standing guard near the doorway, and he said that classic line of, I got you keep doing what you're doing, I got this under control. And he just started like, one of those like silver rods that a priest dips into like the holy water, and he starts to bless things.
Yeah.
He had one of those, but there was no holy water on it. He just started like shaking it around. I don't know if it like stays wet after you dip it in, but he just started like shaking it around and started to bless things. He also started to read a prayer.
The guy was a nut job. I think his name was Jeremy. Like I said, I don't know too much about this stuff. I do believe in it. I don't want it knocking on my door, and that's kind of why I stay away from it. But he believes he was semi-possessed because of that whole incident that you're talking about. The whole demon went into him, and now he's tired, and he's not feeling well, and he's in bed for 3 days. I must be possessed. So he goes to the hospital, comes out 8 hours later. The hospital said he was on the verge of a heart attack. And the whole reason he was on the verge of a heart attack, in his mind, was because the ghost caused it.
Yeah.
I've never heard of someone being possessed, going to the hospital, and all of their problems are solved 8 hours later, and they're just, up, ready to start their business again. You were sick. And because you were sick, you were in bed, and that's why you were unwell, and that's why you were not sleeping. And all of these feelings that you were having, you put on to be because the ghosts were in you. No, you were just having a heart attack. I don't think he did well. I think that group was a bit of a disaster. I liked the girl that was in it, Brandy. Where I got lost with it, and where I kind of, jumped off the bandwagon with her, was when she started talking with the kids from the store. I don't know if you remember where she did her whole setup, and she started communicating with all the kids, and all of them were coming through.
Was that when the negative entity started coming through?
Well, that negative entity hadn't started yet. He wasn't doing his little chant. But anyways, it was a good scene. It was quiet. She was kind of like in a meditated state, and she's all into it, communicating. They're giving her all this information. And all you hear is a girl in the background try to whisper, "What about the baby?
Oh yeah,
and that was
I
on
remember
episode 2, and it's like obviously clearly like a camera lady saying it.
Yeah.
She breaks state. Oh yeah, the baby, and it's like where the hell did that even come from? And then she starts going on the social spiel how she's communicating with this baby when someone just whispered it to her. Yeah. That's where that lost me.
Yeah. Well, again, it was just a lot of drama, a lot of, like, again, bells and whistles of a ghost hunting TV show. Like, there are a lot of, like, good, to me, ghost hunting docs that are out there. Like, Hellier is one of them. There's another one, I forgot what it was called, but pretty much it's the same idea where they stayed in, like, an extremely haunted home, and they did catch some activity, but the only thing they caught was, like, I think a broom falling down, right? So, I give a bit more credit to that. I'm a bit of a skeptic when I'm looking at these things. Again, I'm not doubting these places are haunted and stuff does happen, but I don't think it happens on cue all the time.
It's true. Of course it's true. I mean, it's a theory, it's a thing. Many people have experienced it. I'm not doubting that these people have felt things. I just feel like a lot of it for the show, just like many other shows, a lot of it was just elevated and animated.
Yeah. Like, it is kind of funny, though. Like, again, it was... I keep repeating it, but, like, even the demonologist, who's my favorite character, at one point he used something called the God helmet, where pretty much it looked like a Transformers helmet. I don't know if the TV show made this up or if he made it.
No, it was his son's hockey helmet with Christmas lights attached to it. It was all bullshit.
So it pretty much had magnets to amplify the part of your brain that mediums and psychics use to talk to ghosts and all that. So I kind of found that funny. I kind of chuckled a bit because he's wearing it. That's when he started, like, flipping out. He's like, I need to go to the hospital, that whole spiel. But again, I don't know. I had a bit of a good time watching it. It was a good watch. Like, if you want to watch it, look it up. It's still on Netflix.
I do think it was good. I'm not disagreeing with you. I was able to watch it even though it like, you know, I don't typically watch these things. But I just, it lost me from the start. 28 days, you're going to start feeling all these different things. The second that they walked in, all of them started feeling it right away.
Yeah.
I don't know what waiting 28 days was going to do for you.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever believes in it, all the power to you. I don't think that that's a true theory, especially since the people that created the entire theory hadn't even began experimenting it themselves. I think it's just a money grab, and I think that their son-in-law's smart. He's rolling with it, and it's successful. And I do believe there will be a second season the way that it ended.
Yeah, I think there is. It is confirmed for a second season. Like, actually, we're going to kind of, like, I actually have a fun little fact I found. So, the murder that took place at the Lambert Borden Inn happened in the late 1970s, and there were actually a few serial killers active around the late 70s. And a few of them were Ted Bundy is a big one, Ed Kemper's another one, the Code Butcher. But I believe Ted Bundy was around that area at that time. But again, I'm just jumping into conclusions. I just thought that was a little unique fact. Do you have any fun facts that you found?
The only thing that I was a little bit disappointed with was so the whole family that he murdered. Which one was it?
The Madison? The Lawson family?
Yeah. So he killed all of his kids. He killed his wife. But what the show never spoke about, mind you, and I can't obviously put blame to, like, the psychics and stuff that were staying there, but as you were watching, you know, they kind of give you little clips and blurbs about, like, what's actually happened there, like, as a side note to the viewers. No one spoke about the son that he didn't kill.
Oh, there was a survivor.
So on Christmas Day, his son had gone out to hunt rabbits and went to the store to buy ammo, and they said that he was just running errands. When he got back, everyone was dead already.
Oh.
And his dad had already killed himself. No one spoke about him. No one looked at any archives. No one looked at any, you know, statements. It just went untold. And why wouldn't that be the first thing that they wanted to do? Look at the statements of the son. Talk to people that were, you know, they did talk to people that were educated on it. I don't know if you remember the girl.
Yeah.
Brandy had done that whole FaceTime with that girl that had done research on the whole thing. No one talks about him. He's just unknown.
Well, that was also too because like all the ghost hunters weren't allowed to use the internet or do any research.
No, that's what I'm saying. I don't put blame on them, but like I said, there were little side notes that they were talking to the viewers about, right?
Oh yeah.
No one mentioned that.
That is interesting.
I think that would have been cool to get more info on him. Who better to directly speak to than someone that had affected that close.
Well, they also talked. Yeah, she talked to that lady that was an expert in the murders, saying that the husband started complaining of several headaches, and he left that weird note that the demonologist started writing down, and it was actually rumored that a big scandal was going to be publicly known before the murders took place. I don't know if you remember that.
Well, that was the whole, he probably got his daughter pregnant.
Yeah.
But they did touch upon that at least, right? They spoke about it, but no one spoke about the son. I didn't enjoy it as much as other people did. I think it was more of a comedy than anything. Even when the part where they're all talking about, it's 2 weeks in and the demons are already coming out, and that's why everyone's fighting with each other. They're all getting upset, and there's this drama because he wants to do this and she wants to do that, and it's the ghosts that are influencing these arguments. No, you're in a house. It's been 14 days. You have no TV. You have no internet, and you've been sitting beside the same person. You're gonna drive each other crazy. I don't think that has anything to do with ghosts. I'm here with you for a weekend, and I feel the same. I don't think it has anything to do with that. You get sick of being around people, especially when you have nothing else to entertain you with. So yeah, those are just my thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's true, and valid. Now, I'm gonna give my thoughts, and obviously you gave your thoughts. Now, as I said before, if we're going off the scientific method, nothing was followed. Like, yes, they had a conclusion, they had a hypothesis and a conclusion, but there was, again, like I said, there was one skeptic on the team where one guy said that he found writing on the mirror, and the guy said, I think you wrote it on the mirror, and the guy got all pissed off going, you think I did that? I never would fabricate evidence and blah, blah, blah. But, again, there was no room for observational bias, nothing to say, okay, these are the terms, these are what we're doing, and again, it wasn't followed. But
even your conclusion, you're talking about the whole scientific theory, and that's cool. But what conclusion? What I would have liked to see, okay, it was 28 days, majority of them, we solved it, and the demons stopped, and now those souls have gone to heaven and have gone to their better places because we stopped the demon. Okay, cool. But why aren't they there for 29, 30, 31 days to ensure that that's actually happened?
Yeah.
The 28 days happens, whoop, everything's good, we're the heroes, everyone goes home, but now what? I think, yes, do your whole 28-day experiment, but I would stay there beyond that time to ensure that your conclusion is actually true. You're leaving this whole 28 days and putting everything depending on your last 3 hours of your experience there. I don't think that was right.
Yeah, you know what? I kind of agree with that. I do understand that and what you're saying. I do.
I just think it's an unfinished conclusion. There's no conclusion.
Well, at the end of it, they said, okay, we both at all 3 locations, the 28-day cycle was proven, but he said too, but we have to do this again to test it again. It wasn't tested a theory.
Well, they're saying that it has to be done multiple times, and I think that's where it became that whole open-ended, let's make this a series.
Yeah.
And staple Ed and Lorraine Warren name on it, and now, we're now Netflix top 10.
Well, that's too, a lot of people argue saying about the paranormal is you can't duplicate results in a lab setting. You can't. That's what a lot of people argue, saying that they question the paranormal existence of ghosts. Again, that argument has been going on for hundreds of years. But anyway, that's my thoughts on it, and that's what your thoughts. It's it's a fun watch, but at the end of the day, it's pretty cool.
I just think that a lot of their theory, someone that doesn't even know anything about ghosts, can have an opinion on it, and I think that's what makes it bad.
Yeah.
Their whole theory of, the longer you're there, the more stranger things become. Well, of course it becomes stranger. You get used to certain creaks in your house. You get used to certain noises. You're getting used to hearing the spirits say certain things. So what do you do tomorrow? You start pushing the envelope. You want more information. You get accustomed to things. You get used to things. Things that scared you yesterday don't scare you today because you've been doing the same thing over and over again. So you have the courage to to go places you wouldn't have gone on day one. Of course you aren't. You're not going to have the courage to do that day one. You don't know anything, but now you do, so you're going to keep on channeling these demons.
Yeah. And also, I think you said, like, when the guy went to the sensory deprivation tank, you're like, very Stranger Things.
Yeah. Well, they wanted more info, right? They were at a standstill. Nothing new was happening. So that's the whole point of what I was saying. Nothing new's happening. Content's kind of, plateaued. You're bored. Viewers are bored. What do you got to do? You have to up your limit a little bit. They've basically proven that was all bullshit, because it wasn't even he could have spoken to a spirit that was in the house, but obviously it wasn't the one that he thought he was talking to the entire time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I personally don't believe in it. I do believe that these places were haunted. I do believe that they spoke to certain spirits. I just don't believe in the 28-day theory. Yeah.
And I'm kind of skeptical with it too. Again, like, there's a lot of awesome ghost hunters out there. Like, if you just go on YouTube, or even like there's some on TikTok that do a lot of cool things, and they do awesome paranormal investigations. When I watch it, it's like, what the hell was that? But yeah, so that concludes this episode of the 28 Days Haunted TV show. Well, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. All my social media platforms will be listed down below. And yeah, so don't forget to stay unusual.
See ya.